Hello again, everyone. I'm here to read chapter 14 of A Dog's Promise. I hope your day is going well, and I hope you enjoy the chapter. The boys exchanged glances, grinning, and then followed one another out the back door and returned pushing chairs just like Bert's. I was bewildered, especially when they sat down and began wheeling around in jerky circles. Even Grant had a chair. "Let's see what you got, birthday boy," someone called out. Things quickly became even more confusing, and the boys began rapidly rolling back and forth, throwing the ball and yelling. My boy told me to do stay, but it was simply too difficult, and I pranced out to get involved with that ball. Burke eventually clipped my leash to a pole. I watched tensely as the boys scrambled about, periodically heaving the ball up in the air. Though I did not understand what they were doing, the expression on Burke's face and his laughter told me he was happy. I noticed that he was moving much more quickly than everyone else, weaving in and out among the other chairs. "How does he do that?" one of the boys panted at Grant. Bert was out in front of everyone, rolling fast, and he threw the ball up in the air, and it fell back down, and several boys cheered, somehow having fun without a dog. "Practice," Grant told the panting boy with a laugh. I tried to stay involved by barking and wagging, but eventually resigned myself to just sitting there and keeping my eyes on my boy. Later that afternoon, the boys all left in their cars, so it was just Grant and Burke and me. My boy reached down to scratch my ears, and I groaned. "Where'd you get all the chairs?" he asked. Grant grinned. "A couple of them are rented, and we got some from garage sales, pawn shops, places like that." "So you've been planning this for some time?" "Yeah. How was it?" I turned my head to stare at Burke because a wave of motion came off him as suddenly and sweeping as morning's rainstorm. "Grant," Burke said. Then he stopped, looking away for a moment, and then started again. "Grant, I have never been part of any team before, not ever. Not just to play, but to be the... You smoked us all. You were the best," Grant said simply. "Thank you, brother." Grant and Burke grinned at each other. But the pull between the two of them in that moment was so strong I had to jump up, putting my paws on Grant's chest, wanting to be part of it. I usually sat under Grant's chair at dinner because he dropped more food than Burke. I was lying there when Chase Dad said, "I ordered new doors for the storm cellar. The ones we have now are so rotten you could put a foot through them. Tornado hits, not much good to have a shelter with doors falling apart. After we get doors done, Grant, why don't you see about getting the old doors off? The things weigh a ton." Grant kicked his legs a little. "Sure, I'll work all day and then work a little bit more." "Watch your tone," Chase Dad replied. "I can do it," I heard my boy say. Grant made a snorting noise. "Grant," Grandma pleaded quietly. "I'm serious. I'll figure something out," Burke insisted. There was a silence. "All right, Burke, you do that," Chase Dad agreed. By next morning, Burke seemed very interested in a pair of wooden doors lying on the ground. "This is going to work, Cooper," he told me. I watched with absolutely no curiosity as he started tying ropes, running the line to a tree, where an object clanked as he lifted it. "See? The hinge is removed. I can pull the doors off, using the block and tackle." I yawned. I curled up for a nap. I was intrigued, though, when the slatted wooden doors were removed, revealing steps that went down into a space under the building. "Go ahead, Cooper, check it out." The steps were stone, and no children were sitting on them, whereas the ball was lofty and airy. The small room down there, the barn under, was dark and damp. I found nothing of interest in the cramped space. Some soft blankets I could smell, even though they were wrapped in plastic, some containers, a metal box reeking of burned wood. No sign of the barn animal. I trotted back up to where Burke was playing with the ropes. "Let's not tell anyone how I did this," he said to me. I went back to my nap. "How did you get the doors off?" Chase Dad asked Burke at dinner. "It was easy," Burke replied. "Who helped you?" Grant challenged. "Nobody." "Liar." "Moron." "Boys," Chase Dad said in a firm voice. I listened mournfully to the sound of eating. There was beef up there on the table, and none down here on the floor. "Burke, why don't you invite Wendling to dinner some night?" Grandma said. The sounds of eating stopped. Grant's legs kicked. Burke said. "Mom, where did that come from?" Chase Dad asked. There was a long, long silence. "Why don't you boys give your grandmother and me a moment to talk?" Chase Dad suggested. Grant and Burke left, but I lingered under a table, because of the beef. "I'm serious. What was that?" Chase Dad asked in low tones. "I know what you're going to say, and I don't want to hear it. It's Burke's first girlfriend. What you have against her father is your own business, but it doesn't have anything to do with your son." It's not just that they're robo-farmers. I don't like the idea of her being a girlfriend. How do we know what's really behind it? What if she's just dating him out of pity? Or worse, she just wanted to be seen as a girl who is so generous she is willing to go out with a disabled boy. Oh, Chase, oh what? I'm his father. I'm just looking out for his best interest. Grandma stood. I got up and shook myself, sniffing, watching her hopefully. I think that when Patty left, it made you so mistrustful women you can't celebrate that your son is in love. Of course she's going to break his heart, or he'll break hers. They're in high school, for heaven's sakes. But what you're trying to do is avoid all emotional risk for yourself and for your sons, which means you're not really participating. God, is this about Natalie? It's about life. Don't you think I miss your father every single dang moment of every day? But would I pass up the opportunity to be with him, to marry him, and raise a family with him if I knew that I would come home from the store one day and find him lying dead in the kitchen? No, because life is about to be lived, Chase. Encasing your heart in stone doesn't make it stronger. It makes it cold. I could not remember Grandma ever doing any angry walk before. Chase Dad sat at the table for a long time after she shut the door to her room. Grant and Burke decided to visit the dock the next morning, but not to harass ducks. Grant took off his shirt and jumped into the water, and Burke watched from his chair. Grant floated on his back. You should come in. You know I can't swim, Burke replied. You don't think I'd save you? Why would I think that? Come on. Why'd you put on your swimsuit if you aren't going to swim? Changed my mind. Chicken, seriously, that's the best you got? You know you want to. I looked up at a noise, and at the same time caught the scent of Wenling. She was on a bicycle, pedaling on the pedals as she ascended the driveway. She didn't look over at us, and neither of the boys saw her. I wagged, anticipating her hands on my fur. Cooper, steady. I alertedly darted to my boy's side. He gripped my harness, sliding down onto the edge of the dock. Go for it, Grant encouraged. With a sigh, Burke pushed himself off and landed in the water. I bounded forward and stared down into the deep green water, seeing and smelling him as he sank. And then he was completely erased from my sight. A tense silence fell in the still air. A duck chided another. Somewhere far off, a cow complained. Alarmed, I panted, willing my boy to reappear. Come on, Grant muttered. I gave an anxious whine. I glanced at Grant, then at my house, where I could see Wenling talking to Grandma. Grandma pointed in our direction, and Wenling turned, put a hand to her, shade her eyes. I paced, my jaws gripping the ends of the dock. Something bad was happening to my boy Burke. With a splash, Grant dipped under the surface. I barked. Now he was disappearing. I had to do something. I launched myself over to the side in utter panic, diving down into the depths of that pond, and as I descended, something extraordinary happened. I remembered doing this before. I remembered swimming through gentle, warm waters. A voice came to me. Good dog, Bailey. Yet as powerfully as the recollection captured my mind, I couldn't at all place where I had been. Or when. And then the boys bumped into me on their way up, and the moment passed. I followed them to the surface. Grant was sputtering, holding Burke with both hands. Burke spat water in Grant's face. Gotcha! Laughing, he pushed himself off his brother's chest while I swam in circles around them, so relieved I couldn't stop the little yips that escaped my mouth. Grant wiped his eyes. What? Of course I can swim, you idiot! Hi, Wenling called from the dock. Both boys turned and gaped at her. How'd you get here? Grant asked. Happy to see you too, Grant. I rode my bike. Did you know there are a lot of bumps in the road? My butt hurts. Hey, want to come swimming? Burke asked her, treading water. Oh, I didn't bring a suit. Huh? Burke sucked in a breath and slipped under the surface. A moment later, Grant gasped and spun himself around. Burke surged up out of the water, throwing Grant's bathing suit on the dock by Wenling's feet. Here, you can borrow Grant's. After a bit, Burke climbed out of the pond. I did steady to help him get back to his chair. Grant stayed in the water much longer, not emerging even when Burke, carrying Grant's bathing suit, wheeled with Wenling back to the house. Grant finally hauled himself onto the dock and ran really fast to the stairs down in the barn, emerging wrapped in a blanket. I just do not understand people sometimes. Later, the three of them ate ice cream off sticks at the wooden outdoor table. I was enraptured. The boys were eating with crunchy bites, but Wenling was licking hers in a way that made me almost dizzy. So I had my first flying lesson, she said. The boys stared. Flying lesson? Grant repeated. You said you were working at the airfield, but you never said anything about flying lessons, Burke added. You're like 14 still, Grant objected. So what? So wait. A girl is getting her pilot's license, and it's bothering the boys? Wendling taunted. A drop fell off her stick and landed on the seat next to her. I stared at it. Of course not, Burke replied uncomfortably. I can't fly solo until I'm 16, but I can take lessons now, Wendling grinned. My father won't let me drive until I'm 18, but it never occurred to him that I might fly. My mom knows, but she won't tell him. That drop of ice cream was just sitting there. Do you have a parachute, Burke wanted to know. Stop it. I'm going to get my pilot's license before I even have a driver's license. So, she turned to Burke. You want to come on and fly with me sometime? You mean like leave the Earth? Wendling laughed. I'll go, Grant offered. Would there be flames? Burke asked. No, no flames. The instructor sits at the controls next to me. Oh, then there probably isn't room for me. I was so looking forward to it, Burke sighed. I'll go, Grant repeated. There's room for both of you. Cooper, too, she said. I heard my name and lunged, slurping up the ice cream splat in one lick. Many days passed with no sign of Lacey. In my dreams, though, Lacey and I ran together, and sometimes she was a dark-faced, short-haired brown dog I first met, and sometimes she was a yellow dog with the scraggly fur I knew. Then one night she filled my senses so powerfully I woke up. And I still smelled her. I padded out the dog door and into the darkness. Her scent led me to the stone steps to the under barn. She was down there, her scent strong and constant. And something was down there with her. The end of chapter 14. I think I know. Do you know? Make your prediction now. See you.